Alright, so today we're going to be solving different equations, and we've done this before, but now we're going to try a few more complicated problems and start seeing different things put together. So before we can start solving our equations, we need to review our prior knowledge. We know for our identity, we have our addition identity is 0, our multiplication identity is 1. When you perform the operation with that number, we don't change the original problem, and so adding is kind of like, so when we do our identity, we're adding 0 and we're not changing our number. The inverse is when we're going to add or multiply by something and we want to equal the identity. For addition, we're going to add the opposite. For our multiplication, we're going to multiply by the inverse or the reciprocal. And we remember that reciprocal is if we have a fraction, we're going to take it and flip the fraction. The numerator becomes the denominator becomes the numerator. And then we have our two properties, the associative property and the commutative property, where we could change the order or the grouping of our numbers and it's not going to change our outcome. So now we're going to get started with our problem, and so we know that 3 times the quantity negative 2x plus negative 7 to the 1/2 power plus 5 should equal 8. And so what we need to do is use our inverse operations to solve and get x by itself. And we also know that once we're finished that, we're going to check our work and make sure that the answer worked. So x is buried in here, and we want to start from the outside and work our way in, and we're always going to remember the property of equality. And so anything we do to the right, we're also going to need to do to the left. So our first thing here, we're going to start all the way on the outside, and I'm adding 5. Well, adding 5 we want that to equal our identity of 0, and so let's add the opposite. The opposite of positive 5 is negative 5, so we're going to add a negative 5 to both sides. On the left hand side, we're just going to get 3, and on the right hand side, 5 and negative 5 is equal to 0. Well, we know by adding the identity, it won't change our original quantity, so that's actually going to give us 3 times the quantity of negative 2 plus negative 7 to the 1/2 is equal to 3. So now we're looking at this 3 here, and that's our multiplication. And so we're going to need to multiply by the reciprocal so that we can equal our identity. So if I multiply the right and the left by 1/3, over here on the right I have 3 times 1/3. Well, we know that's going to equal our identity of 1. Well, any quantity times the identity will remain the same. So on our right hand side, we're just going to have the quantity of negative 2x plus negative 7 to the 1/2 power, and 1/3 times 3 is equal to 1. So now we have something here raised to the 1/2 power. Well, we need to do the opposite. So we need to raise it to the power of 2. And so we're going to take both sides here. Oh, and we have a little bit of a typo. So our radical actually shouldn't be here, and our power should be up here. Let's see if we can fix this. So if we ignore the radical, we're actually squaring both sides. Let's see if we can fix that. Get rid of that 2. Sorry about that. So we're squaring both sides. And so now when we square both sides, so I have 1/2 and 2, you know that's going to give us the first power, and 1 squared is 1. So now here we have 1 is equal to the negative 2x plus negative 7. Well, the negative 7 we want to equal 0, so we're going to add the opposite. Opposite of negative 7 is positive 7, so we're going to add positive 7 to both sides. On our right hand side, negative 7 and positive 7 are equal to the identity, which is 0, and so we're just going to have negative 2x plus 0. Well, anything plus the identity is actually just the remaining number. So we know it's going to be negative 2x, and 1 plus 7 is 8. So now we have here negative 2x, and we want to get x by itself. Well, we're going to multiply by the inverse. The inverse of negative 2 is negative 1/2, which I on accident wrote as division, so we could fix that. And we could multiply both sides by negative 1/2. So this is similar notation. And so we could have equal to e. And then we have this negative 2x. and we're multiplying by negative 1/2. And I had originally written as division by 2, which we know is the equivalent, but we're going to fix our notation in case we're confused on that. Well, negative 2 and negative 1/2 are inverse or reciprocals, so we know they equal the identity. The identity is 1, so I have 1x. Well, anything times the identity is itself, and so, let's actually just delete that. We know x is equal to negative 4. But we can never trust that, and we do need to check our work. So what we're going to do here is take that negative 4 and plug into the quantity, in the equation for the quantity, and see if that everything works out. So let's start on the inside. I have negative 2 times negative 4. It's going to give us positive 8. So next we can do 8 minus 7. That's going to give us 1. I have 1 to the 1/2 power. We know that's just going to give us 1. So now I have 3 times 1. 3 times 1 is 3 because that's our identity. So now we're left with 3 plus 5, which is equal to 8, and so this answer works out.